One of the biggest questions for the Chicago Bulls and Bulls fans are the Bulls actually done leading to this trade deadline, or are there still moves to be made? Well, if you listen to KC Johnson and others, the Chicago Bulls have engaged, I won't say active, but they have engaged in trade conversations with the Orlando Magic on Coby White. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, hosted by Hayes, your number one spot for all things Chicago Bulls.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's get into it. I didn't expect to be coming back to you guys this soon. I actually just posted the daily episode, so y'all still better go and support that daily episode. Don't let that mug die in the algorithm. But with that said, this comes out from KC Johnson. We actually heard a lot of talk about this, but it hasn't come from the most reputable sources, right? So when it comes down to it, it seems like this comes from KC Johnson, says the Orlando Magic, among others, have called on Coby White per Ian Bagley. And so here's the thing. The Bulls have a glut of guards, right? We all know that, right? You got Ayo Dosunmu, Lonzo Ball, who you just re-signed, Josh Giddey, Coby White, Javon Carter, Dalen Terry, if you count him as a guard. There's a lot of people, Trey Jones, who we just acquired. There's a lot of guards on this roster, right? And it's clear that some of that needs to be broken up between now and the start of the season. Now, Coby White is a guy that you look at it, he's on a very reasonable contract with the Chicago Bulls at $12 million. The Bulls, he's going to have to go through unrestricted free agency to get his next contract with the Bulls, as the Bulls can only offer him 140% on his next contract as an extension. So more than likely, he's going to want to explore that market. And if the Bulls aren't for sure on Coby White resigning here, it would make sense that they are engaged in talks to see what the value is for Coby White. Now, do I think that something is necessarily imminent as far as happening? No. Coby White even said it yesterday that he feels like he'll be here after the trade deadline. But the Orlando Magic are a team that has really good defense, but does need some scoring. Now, the problem, though, is that they need shooting. And Coby White is not necessarily a three-point. He's not Ben Gordon, right? He's not just a three-point shooter. He's a player that needs the ball in his hands. And with them having Jalen Suggs in the year that he's having when he's really grown as a player, is that something that would fit there? Would it be similar now to here where you have him in a backcourt with another ball dominant guard and you don't necessarily get the best out of Coby White? But I mean, that would be a problem for the Orlando Magic to figure out. But what could the Magic be offering for the Chicago Bulls that could be of interest, right? That's the question that you have to look at here. The Orlando Magic have the Denver's first round pick. If it's only 1 through 5 protected, otherwise, and that's not going to happen. Denver's one of the best teams in the Western Conference. So they have 2 first round picks in the 2025 draft. And I think that could be a key if they're going to get something done. You look at it like this: the Orlando Magic could technically keep their own first round pick, or they could trade the Denver Nuggets pick, right? I don't think the Bulls are going to get both of them for Coby. I just don't think that that's the case. But if you're starting off, because the Bulls are in pick evaluation allocation mode, if they can get one of those first round picks as a base, that's then your conversation for getting in the door for Coby White, right? Now, the thing about this as well with the Orlando Magic, they're $25 million below the luxury tax. So they can acquire more money than they send out. They are over the salary cap, as every team is, but they do, except for the Detroit Pistons. So they don't necessarily have to match Coby White's contract exactly. But even if they do want to, there's players that they can do that with. I would think that if they're sending the first round pick, knowing the Chicago Bulls, they're probably also are going to ask if they can get Anthony Black back in a trade as well. Now, the Orlando Magic may not bite on that. Anthony Black is, I think, the last player that they took with one of our draft picks, but he is a player that is developing. He has some really good, solid defense at times. And I think that if the Bulls are looking for young players, allocation, yes, they'll be getting another guard back, which is kind of unavoidable, right? I think that's a barrier to get in the door. Again, am I thinking that's a great trade? No. Is that a move that I want to see made for Coby White? No. But if these trades do advance and you get to the point of something being imminent, I do think the Denver first round pick, Orlando's own, depending on what they're looking at. And then Anthony Black is probably where the conversation starts at, if I'm the Bulls. But then again, that's the Bulls operating smartly. For all we know, the Bulls could be taking back expiring salary back in it. But Anthony Black kind of fits what the Bulls have been acquiring or looking at, right? Young players that still have some upside while you're on this path of developing guys that still have upside, that also have not really scratched the surface yet and could get more time here in Chicago. And then as well, his contract is up at the end of the 2026-27 season, where you have to figure out if you're going to extend him as a restricted free agent or not. So I think that makes some sense. His contract's also $7.6 million. So you have that. Now, of course, other players could be involved in it. You're looking at maybe a Cole Anthony whose contract almost matches Coby White's exactly. He does have an additional year on it, but you're looking at that as well. It is a team option, though, in 2026-27 for Cole Anthony's contract. So you're looking at that a little bit for it as well. But to say all this is that the Orlando Magic have contracts that they can match. They have draft picks, multiple draft picks that they can send out. They have a young player that they can use to match the contract of Coby White. They can get it done, right? Now, the question is should the Bulls do this move? And that's where you're going to get varying answers and opinions from Bulls fans in regards to Coby White. But I think it comes down to this as well, right? This is again, what I'm trying to remove my personal. You guys know how I feel about Coby, but I'm removing my personal view on this. Objectively looking at this, if the Bulls are truly in a place where they evaluate this roster and they feel like, hey, we're so far removed, we need all the young players and draft picks that we can get as we're trying to build this thing out. And also the contract extension that Coby White slated to make get at the end of next season. There is a risk portion of that the Bulls do have to evaluate as being a responsible front office. Now, here's the thing that I'd say. You just extended an injury-prone player in Lonzo Ball, who we all love, right? I mean, it's not a bad extension at all, but it's even much less than what Coby's making. So it seems like if the Bulls were to do a move like this, whereas I've said before that they're retooling rather than completely, bottoming out, this is a move that shows, hey, we're clearing the entire deck eventually. It may happen over time, but the entire deck may get cleared here. So we'll see, man. This would be the Bulls striking where a player's value is high still. I don't think as high had they not played off the Josh Giddey, but with the Lonzo extension, Josh Giddey's extension coming up, maybe the Bulls feel like they got to go ahead and make a decision on one or the other. So that's me trying to read what this all means. Again, not to say that I like this concept. I don't like the idea of the Bulls moving on from Coby White, but it may be something that they have to do. Troy says, how you doing, Hayes? It's almost 1 a.m. here and can't sleep because my mind is on the deadline. Apparently, also Warriors may be back in on Vooch per Windhorse. I did get to talk about that on the daily episode. That actually makes a lot of sense for the Golden State Warriors to be back in on Nikola Vucevic. I'll talk about that here at the end of the live stream since we're live anyway. I'll double back on that to explain why, but let's focus on the Coby White aspect for right now. If Coby gone and Vooch gone, who's going to score the ball? Patrick Williams, Modest Bucelis is going to get a lot of shots. P. Will's going to get a lot of shots. Josh Giddey's going to get a lot of shots. If that's the case, Jalen Smith's going to get a lot of shots. So keep in mind, if the Bulls do all this, it's not to get better. So who takes the shots almost doesn't matter at that point in time. If the Bulls were to deal Coby, I wish it were a surprise. I hate that his name in reports when it seems unlikely that he'll actually be traded. Coby is the leader of this team. Hey, if you're truly trying to rip everything out, you have to do everything. Dang just got out the shower and we trading Coby. It's not that, right? But they are engaged in talks. I wouldn't love seeing Coby, honestly, but if we get a decent haul, it opens up more room for other guards for sure. Yeah, but the question that I have in that is what other guards do you want to see play above Coby White? Like Io for sure, like Giddey, but Giddey isn't getting in the way. Him and Coby have been playing together. Like what other guards do you want to see? Like Coby is the guard that you want to see develop, but again, we'll see what happens. Truth is, Bulls want to move the ball more around. That's why they plan on keeping Zoe. They want people that would move the ball more and Zoe would benefit from modest instead of stunting his growth. Well, the thing is, Coby's good at, like, we scored on almost 50%, over 50% of the drives that Coby White did last year because he also used his ability to drive to get other players the ball. He still assisted on, I think it was like 40, I don't have the numbers in front of me, or more like 46% of his drives, and we scored on 60% of those opportunities. So I get what you're saying, and maybe they want more traditional distributors, but it is what it is, man. Who do you want back from member? I just talked about that, brother. I know you probably left that before, but I just talked about that. Why can't we just trade Carter and P. Will? Because this ain't 2K. Teams don't want players that don't have value. Like, who's going to look at Javon Carter and what he's brought here and be like, yeah, that's the deadline move for us. Now, maybe you can move him as part of a larger deal, but it's not like anybody's going to really be looking at that. They took Jet Howard with the Bulls pick. Juwan Howard's son and nephew was top 3. They took, Anthony Black was with their own pick. Same draft, though? Was it the same draft? We'll see. Let's say you're right about the Black in the first round pick. Isn't he a point guard? Why trade for Giddey in the first one? No, Anthony Black is a shooting guard. He's 6'7". He's a shooting guard. Anthony Black is a shooting guard. Now, I do think he played some point guard in college, but if you look at his minute split, and I'll verify that to make sure I'm not talking out of my ass, because there are sometimes, it's not like I've watched every Orlando Magic game. He's listed as a shooting guard, and I believe most of his minutes have come at shooting guard. So you would be replacing a combo guard with another combo guard, basically, is what it is. But I do think he plays more shooting guard minutes than point guard, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm looking it up now so I can verify to make sure I'm not just blowing smoke. So give me 1 second. One thing about me is I'm always going to try to verify things to make sure I'm not just talking shit, whereas some other people don't. So if you look at his position splits, come on, why is my internet moving slow? So, okay, it's been about 50-50. So this season, in 2024-25, 50% of his minutes have come at shooting guard, 46% of his minutes have come at point guard, and 4% have come at small forward. Last year, it was 75% of his minutes at shooting guard, 22% at point guard, 4% at small forward. So he plays more more shooting guard minutes than point guard minutes. So if that answers your question, CP. Come on, man, not my Carolina boy. Listen, I am not saying that this is something I support or want to see. I'm just saying that this is the way that it seems like it's shaping up. It seems like it's shaping up that way. But with that said, let's flip the script and get in on what Troy asked about earlier. So reportedly, the Golden State Warriors may be back in on Nikola Vucevic, which actually makes a lot of sense. And I'll change the title of this video so that everybody knows we're talking about both players. But when you look at the Golden State Warriors and what they were able to accomplish with the Jimmy Butler trade, you got an on-ball defender. You got a guy as well who is pretty ball dominant for the most part, right? And you got a guy who's still a solid passer. They could open up for Steph Curry to play more off-ball. But when they made the trade for Jimmy Butler and it was built around Andrew Wiggins, they still have Gary Payton II's contract at $9.1 million. They still got Kevon Looney's contract valued at $8 million. They still got other players that they can move as well. And so the Golden State Warriors were able to make the move for Jimmy Butler while still keeping some cap flexibility and contracts around if they want to make another move, either being in the offseason or being now. Now, the benefit of Kevon Looney and Gary Payton for the Bulls aspect of things is that they are expiring contracts at the end of this season. So you clear your cap sheet even further, right? So that is a deal that gets you close to getting it done, right? So that's something that the Golden State Warriors could look to do. They also still have the first round pick that they can look to move. They still have, because of the way that the Jimmy Butler trade worked out, they still can move their 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, or 2029 picks. And so because they've opened up the door to be able to move those picks, they still have a plethora. And even if it isn't first round picks, they have 2 second round picks in the 2025 draft, which they can package with those young players to try to make a move, right? So I do think that if the Golden State Warriors look at this situation with Jimmy Butler and they say to themselves, we still want a big man that can stretch the floor, that can shoot, I think that they could be back in on Nikola Vucevic. So, and I think when you look at the move that the Lakers made yesterday in getting Mark Williams, that the Golden State Warriors could look at that, again, keeping up with the Joneses, and say, all right, now we got Jimmy in here. We handled our perimeter defense a little bit. Now let's go out and get a big guy. And that's something that reportedly they was focused on before the Jimmy Butler thing. So if they can do that, I do think that there's a chance of them getting back in. Now, the question is have the Bulls come down off their value? Reportedly, the Golden State Warriors did not want to include a first-round pick in a trade talk for Nikola Vucevic. That's what the Bulls were looking for at that time. Reportedly as well, the Bulls have come down off that asking price. So if they're willing to take 2 second-round picks, they'll both be in the 2025 draft, which is a very deep draft, right? The Bulls can look to move that package. They'll have 3 picks in the second round in this draft if they do that trade. And they could look to package those to get in on the bottom end of the first round. So there's a lot of options here, what they're going to do, or what the Golden State Warriors could do. Now, of course, that's taken into consideration. How aggressively do they want to go after Vooch, right? There are other big men on the market that they could trade for that have similar contracts to Nikola Vucevic. Not the 20 and 10 guy that Vooch can be, and not maybe the spacer that Vooch can be, but maybe a little bit better defensively, right? And so as the Golden State Warriors are clearly with this Jimmy Butler trade, looking to try to be as close to a contender as possible, there makes some sense for them to take advantage of some expiring contracts to try to make a move with the remaining time in this trade deadline. So that's something that could be an option here. Now, I'm not one to say that's a surefire thing. I'm not even necessarily saying that it's likely, but it is something, and it is an option out there for the Golden State Warriors in the case of Nikola Vucevic if they want to explore that. So the door is not closed on that. And I'll say this, that if the Golden State Warriors do come calling on Nikola Vucevic, personally, I think that with the Bulls, like Vooch, not a knock on Vooch, right? I try to make sure that I'm saying this in a way that I'm not trying to knock the players on this team. But Vooch really doesn't fit what the Bulls are trying to do anymore. He doesn't fit in the sense that play style, yeah, Vooch can fit anywhere play style wise, right? But when you look at the fact of he's an older player, he needs to be ball dominant. He doesn't really fit the fast pace. I think if the Bulls were to move Vooch at this trade deadline and then Jalen Smith takes over as the starting center, this team is going to have an even faster pace than what they do now, which could help Josh Giddey. It helps Lonzo Ball. If Coby stays here, it actually helps Coby White considerably and Ayo. All these players are better with a faster pace. So I think that that's an option here that the Bulls could look for as well if it happens, right? Wapo says, Magic fan here. Hope if this goes down, we both get some good pieces. Let me ask you this, Wapo, since I don't follow the Magic every day. What's the pulse on Magic fans on Anthony Black? Let me know that. Like, what right now is the pulse that Magic fans in the franchise have on the evaluation of Anthony Black? Let me know what you think on that. I know he's a very young guy, but I love it when fans from other teams come in here because you can add a perspective that me as being a diehard Bulls fan may not have. So, Wapo, let me know that. What right now is the feeling from Magic fans on the evaluation of Anthony Black? Let me know that, please, and I'll read that comment once we get it. Corn says, I want picks for Coby. I definitely, I think that would be the goal for sure, right? If the Bulls do trade Vooch to Golden State, do you think we could get Brandon Podominski? Here's the thing. It seems like, and I can only talk about the perception that's out there, right? It seems like they've been reluctant because they want to hold on to Anthony Black. That's been the perception. Doesn't always mean it's a reality. It could be a ploy to kind of up his value, but it is something to look out for there as well, right? Man, hopefully we don't let Coby go. I'd rather let Ayo go for letting the guard go. See, and here's the thing. I don't want to let either one of them go, but in my personal opinion, if you say we got to move one of these guys, to me, Ayo as a two-way player, we've seen what he can do scoring-wise when he's in the game. I'd kind of rather Ayo, and that has nothing to do with him being from Chicago. I do think that Coby has the higher upside as a scorer, but Ayo has the higher upside as a two-way player, and that he can fit in any system. Like, Ayo can fit regardless of how you want to move your team. Ayo can fit that. So, we'll see. We'll see. I'm a Magic fan as well, and we need a guy like Coby. I'm not high on Anthony Black. See, fair. And this is why I love when you guys come in here. Like, again, we're not one of those channels that when people from other teams come in here, we're like, hey, fuck you. No, we're not like that. As long as you don't come in here being crazy and disrespectful, we all good. We're all basketball fans, right? So thank you for joining, Johnny. Thank you for adding that perspective. Like I said, because I just don't have it. I don't have it. Wapo, Black is a good defender, still young, so struggles with efficiency, but he's shown flashes so far. He's a long, lanky guard with a lot of potential. And see, I'm not mad if the Bulls get that back in the Coby White trade. I'm not mad at that at all. Hayes, that hat is fire. Thank you, bro. Thank you. This shirt doesn't go exactly with it. I gotta find a shirt that goes better with it. But this was one of the days where I woke up and I was like, I want to wear this hat. So damn the outfit. Like I just wanted to wear the hat. So there you go. Corn says, I really like Anthony Black. He's a pretty good defender. Agree with that. Agree with that. Io is great on defense. Absolutely agree with you on that one. AK needs to go. Don't he? You don't know what he's doing. Listen, Anthony, a lot of people share that opinion, brother. A lot of people share that opinion. Douglas, hi, Hayes. I'm from Singapore. Shout out to you joining from Singapore. Thank you for supporting us, brother. I appreciate that, man. At least 2 seconds for Coby and a quality player. It's fair. That's fair. So let me ask you this, Reginald. If it's Anthony Black, and I think you need another player for contract filler or whatever, and multiple seconds, is that cool for you, or do you want the first if you can get it? Good point about not letting Io go. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way I view it, right? Is that I think that we've seen it, right? Coby has to play a specific way, and that's not a knock on Coby White. That's just he has to play in a specific way. He needs the ball in his hands so he can drive and create. He's not good when he's forced to be a jump shooter. Io, on the other hand, is more malleable. Is that the word I'm looking for? But he can fit in more different schemes. Like if Io is a player that, regardless of who you draft in the future, you can make a case that he fits with anybody because that's just been his game, right? Whereas Coby, you kind of need to have a specific way to play, right? That's just the way I look at it. But again, I could be wrong on that. I really could be wrong on that. Loving the new background. Love the show. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I put a lot of work into this new background. I got to even out the heads, though. I just realized that they're kind of the Bears head is always going to be longer than the Bulls one, but they're still kind of offset on my shoulder. So I gotta bring either the bear up or the bull down, but we'll work on it eventually. What would a Coby White? So I talked about that at the beginning of it. I think that it would be built around Anthony Black or Cole Anthony. I think if you get Anthony Black in it, it's going to limit the Orlando Magic's desire to include a higher pick, right? Because he's a young player. What is he in his second year, if I'm not mistaken? Now, if it's Cole Anthony, maybe the Bulls have a better chance of getting a first-round pick just because Cole Anthony's a little bit older. But we'll see. We'll see. Need a first for Coby? I agree. I do think that Coby White should have a first-round pick evaluation personally. Io's more versatile. Agree with that one. I like Anthony's bag, but I would very much like Jonathan Isaac, maybe add Vooch. Now, I don't think that they're in on Vooch, though. I don't think that they are looking for a center. Now, if you were to do that, yeah, you probably have to include Jonathan Isaac's contract because he makes a little over $20 million this year. But I just don't think that's realistic. I just don't think that's it. Magic fan base are mixed opinions on AB. I think the front office is probably higher on him than some Magic fans may be. The real tell on this opinion, though, is if he's still in Orlando next opening night. Great point there. Definitely great point. Bring the bear up an inch. Yeah, I think it just needs to go up just a little bit, right? Wrong, just a little bit. And I'll work on that this weekend. Shout out to Hayes, the hardest working man on YouTube. Appreciate you, Vern. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's Thursday, and I think I'm 25 videos in this week already. So you have brought up a valid point about AK. You said that he had to learn his job when he came in as the Bulls GM, but he was the GM in Denver. Yeah, but Tim Connolly did most of the work there, right? Much like AK is the president of basketball operations here, and he makes probably more decisions than Mark Eversley. That same kind of structure in Denver. I think the Denver president of basketball operations is really the guy that makes most of those decisions. So AK, this was his first time it all being on him. So Hayes, what's your IG? I got to talk to you about something. It's CEO Hayes. That's the same thing I am on everywhere. Same thing everywhere. Obviously, you need to bear down. That's great. Listen, that's great, Brian. That's great, man. How is Coby White as a defender? Here's the thing. Coby White is an active defender. He doesn't always have the great success, right? He is an active defender, though. There are times, though, where Coby White completely falls asleep on defense and all Bulls fans get frustrated at him. But he is an active defender. He's not somebody that gets lazy on defense, but he does lack skill because he has that negative wingspan. So there is that part of it as well. The trade has to be Black, De Silva, and a first, or hell, first of all, you're not getting both Black, De Silva, and a first. I'm telling, look at the evaluation. That would be more than what they got back for Luka. You're not getting that back for Kobe Bryant. I get where if this was coming off last season, if the Bulls made this move in the offseason, then maybe. But you're not getting Black, De Silva, and a first. You're not getting it. You're not getting that. But all right, y'all, I got to get to work. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. 800 people in a random. I appreciate you guys for tuning into this, man. We'll see what the Bulls do. We got a little under 6 hours left into the trade deadline. We'll see what's in store for the Bulls. But you guys make sure you stay in tune with us. Hit that subscribe button. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. When news drops, we drop. You won't get better breaking news or updates from any other channel than you get here. Make sure you guys are following us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.